In this video, we're going to compare the Groza and the FFAR1 to find out which is the best close range full auto weapon inside Warzone, especially after this change to the Groza's barrel where it does actually increase damage. Everyone wants to know whether it's actually better than the FFAR1, and in this video we're going to break all that down. If you enjoy weapon comparisons, weapon breakdowns, and overall tips and tricks for Warzone, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and also click the link in the description and follow us over on Twitch. We want to achieve our goal of 100 followers over there as well. Getting straight into it, we're going to show you the two class setups we use to compare both of these guns, and if you want to see a more in-depth breakdown of just the FFAR1 by itself, we'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one. But going into the Groza first of all, in terms of the attachments that we use to compare it, we use the GRU suppressor because everyone's going to want to use the suppressor. It's probably one of the main attachments for all of the Cold War weapons. Then for the barrel, we of course tested the MIL-SPEC barrel because this is the one that increases your damage as well as strafe speed. But we also did run testing on the VDV reinforced barrel because I feel like if people can't control the recoil that is on this attachment, then they will use the VDV reinforced barrel instead. And even though there is no con to recoil that is stated in game, I will show that there actually is a con to recoil with the MIL-SPEC barrel as well. But like I said, the main barrel we're focusing on is this MIL-SPEC one. Then for the underbarrel, of course you want to use the Spetsnaz grip because this has got the best recoil control for any of the grips on the Groza. Then for ammunition, we use the 60 round drum, and that's just to make it more comparable to the FFAR1 because everyone's going to be using that 50 round mag. So you want something that you can compare to it. So we're going to use the 60 round mag here. And then lastly, of course, again, to make sure we're doing a fair comparison, we use the KGB pad, which gives you the same benefits that the Raider stock would give you on the FFAR1. So this is the class setup we use to compare to the FFAR1. And then going into the FFAR1 class setup now, we're using the agency suppressor, the reinforced heavy barrel, because I think this is the one that everyone's going to be using on the FAR. Like I said, if you want to see a full breakdown of all the barrels, you can watch the video that's at the end of this one. And then the field agent grip, the Stanag 50 round mags, and lastly the Raider stock. And that is the class setup that we used for the FFAR1 in this comparison. The next thing I want to show you now is overall handling stats for both of these guns. So on screen now, you'll see the FFAR1 on the left and the Groza on the right, and this is with all of the attachments equipped. So this is the class setups that we showed just earlier on now. So what you can see for the FFAR1, you get a rate of fire of 900 rounds per minute. The Groza has a rate of fire of 754 rounds per minute. The ADS speed with all of the attachments on the FFAR1 is 317 milliseconds. And the Groza actually has a faster aim down sight speed with all of the attachments at 283 milliseconds. The magazine size on the Groza is bigger again at 60 rounds in a mag, whereas the FFAR1 only has 50 rounds in a mag. The reload time on the Groza is slightly quicker as well, and like I said, this is with that 60 round mag attachment, so you're going to get a slightly quicker reload time on the Groza. It's not going to be massively noticeable, to be honest. Then the bullet velocity bonus goes to the FFAR1, but keep in mind we're not choosing the best barrel for bullet velocity on the Groza, we're choosing the MIL-SPEC barrel, which increases your damage. And then for the movement speeds, overall movement is slightly better on the Groza as well. So as you can see, with this MIL-SPEC barrel, the Groza does have a lot of things going for it. It does have a larger mag, and it also has a faster aim down sight time as well. The next thing we need to take a look into here is the Groza's barrels, and just the two main ones, like I said, that we focused on was the MIL-SPEC as well as the VDV reinforced, because if you can't control the recoil on the MIL-SPEC barrel, then a lot of people will be using the VDV reinforced or the GRU composite, but we've realized that the reinforced gives you the best bullet velocity options. So if you're looking for the best bullet velocity at those kind of longer ranges, then you want the reinforced barrel instead. What you'll see on screen just now is the bullet velocity values for those two barrels that we mentioned, as well as the ADS firing movement speed values for those two barrels also. And then you'll also see the FFAR1 there for reference. And like I said, this is with all of those attachments equipped as well. So the only thing we switched out was the barrels for the Groza, and we kept all the other attachments the same. So if you're using the VDV reinforced barrel, you're going to get a bullet velocity of 872 meters per second, which is actually faster than the reinforced heavy barrel, as you can see, of the FFAR1, which is 845 meters per second. But if you're using that MIL-SPEC barrel, you do get a lesser bullet velocity. You still do get a bonus to bullet velocity because the base bullet velocity on the Groza is like 634 meters per second. So you do still get a bonus, but is nowhere near as good as the VDV reinforced barrel. Then if you're looking at the ADS firing movement speed, you can see that the MIL-SPEC barrel, and it's a similar case with the Task Force barrel on the FFAR1, gives you the fastest strafing speed at 3.9 meters per second. So you are going to get a faster strafe speed using that MIL-SPEC barrel over the VDV reinforced barrel. So the next thing we need to take a look into, of course, with the Groza overall is the recoil. So what does the recoil look like with this MIL-SPEC barrel? Now that I did mention that it does increase recoil, what does it look like when comparing it to the FFAR1? So on screen now you'll see a recoil chart with the Groza versus the FFAR1, and this is going to be with those two class setups that we compared earlier on. And like you can see, the Groza is on the left with the MIL-SPEC barrel and all the other attachments, and the FFAR1 is on the right with the reinforced heavy barrel and all of the other attachments. And as you can see, in terms of vertical recoil, the Groza definitely has a bit more vertical recoil, and the FFAR1 has a little bit more of that side-to-side recoil, but they both do have that S-shaped curve, and the Groza definitely has a bit of a stronger S-shaped curve compared to the FFAR. Now, one thing I do want to quickly mention is that we fired exactly 30 bullets each time with both of these weapons to compare this, so it's going to be with the exact same bullets fired. So now we've taken a look at the recoil chart with the MIL-SPEC barrel, which, like I said, is the one that increases your damage. I also wanted to show the recoil chart with the VDV reinforced barrel as well, to see how much less there is of recoil on the Groza, and also comparing it to the FFAR1. So on screen just now, you'll see that recoil comparison as well. So it's the Groza with the VDV reinforced barrel, along with all the other attachments like I mentioned, and then also the FFAR1 with the exact same class setup as before. And this time we fired all of the bullets at the wall for both weapons. So 60 rounds for the Groza and 50 rounds for the FFAR. And the reason why I did this time round is because I wanted to show the recoil. With the Groza, it goes up and then it kind of hits the same spot over and over again after a certain point, whereas the FFAR1 just keeps going up and up and up. Another simple thing to notice here as well is that there's less of that S-shaped curve with the Groza and the VDV barrel compared to the MIL-SPEC. You're not going to have such a harsh S-shaped curve. So like I said, it's going to be a bit easier to control. So what does this mean for the Groza? Now this means that if you do use the MIL-SPEC barrel, you're going to get a super fast strafe speed. You're also going to get a lower time to kill, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. And you're also going to get a ton more recoil as well on top of that. So that's something you definitely need to account for. But let's take a look now into the actual time to kill values. The next section of this video is taken from TrueGameData.com, and a link to all their stuff will be down in the description down below as well. But on the screen just now, you'll see the time to kill values for the FFAR1, which is in the cyan line, the Groza without the MIL-SPEC barrel, which is in the magenta line, and then you've got the Groza with the MIL-SPEC barrel in the orange line here. So what you can see is the time to kill for the FFAR is still the best at 467 milliseconds, and this is all chest shots, and this is all done at 250 plates, or 250 health for that matter. Then you've got the Groza with the MIL-SPEC barrel, which is not too far off. There's honestly not a huge difference between these two weapons here. This is like 10 milliseconds of difference in terms of time to kill. But what is massively noticeable here is the time to kill jump between the Groza without the MIL-SPEC barrel and the FFAR1. So there is a huge jump here. And then also on top of that, the Groza has a damage drop off. And this is without that MIL-SPEC barrel. And it drops the time to kill down to 666 milliseconds. Whereas when you use the MIL-SPEC barrel, there pretty much is no damage drop-off whatsoever. And if you're going to be using one of these weapons at slightly longer ranges, so let's say it's past 40 meters and it's below 100 meters in this kind of area right here, the Groza with the MIL-SPEC barrel is going to perform way better than even the FFAR1, which has a 600 millisecond time to kill. And we know how fast the FFAR can kill even at those longer distances, but the Groza kills even quicker than that. And I do think this is a bug in the game. It's not supposed to be like this. So in the current state of the Groza is definitely the best close range weapon inside Warzone at the moment, especially with that MIL-SPEC barrel. And this is going to give you a 477 millisecond time to kill all the way out to infinity, which is absolutely insane. And not much really changes when you switch this between headshots, body shots, and even extremity shots. It still performs really well. So like I said, the time to kill value on the Groza is insane. So now let's summarize this all up, comparing the Groza as well as the FFAR1. So the FFAR1 does have a faster rate of fire, but the Groza with that MIL-SPEC barrel does have the faster time to kill. It also has the faster aim down sight time, as well as the faster reload time, and the faster movement speed as well, and also the faster strafe speed if you use the MIL-SPEC barrel. Now, if you're using the VDV reinforced barrel, you still get a slightly faster strafe speed than the FFAR1, but you're not getting the benefit of that time to kill at those longer ranges. And if you're wanting a weapon that is more easy to control at those longer distances, I do think the FFAR is still easier to control than the Groza. The Groza just definitely has a harsher recoil pattern, and it's going to be difficult to control that. But if you're using this gun mainly at close ranges, I would absolutely recommend using the Groza with the MIL-SPEC barrel. I'll bring up that class setup once again on screen as well for you so you can see that. But like I said, if I had to pick one of these weapons to use as my close range option, that 10 milliseconds time to kill difference is not massive. And being able to beam enemies at a distance with that same super fast time to kill, I would absolutely choose the Groza. Not to mention it also has a clean iron sight just like the FFAR1 as well. So you don't need to use an optic on this gun whatsoever. It does have a really clean iron sight too. So I would definitely recommend you try this out. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. And also click that link in the description and follow us over on Twitch. We want to achieve our goal of 100 followers over there too. And thank you very much for watching.